In mission, sometimes you have to slow down in order to speed up. Hey, I'm Pastor Matt here with your Missionary Pathway Mission Insight. And when it comes to mission in our 24/7 always on culture, I think this advice is solid gold. This is something that my friend and mentor David Putman has told me a lot over the years. Sometimes you have to slow down in order to speed up. And I think in our fast-paced, everything at your fingertips culture, it's vitally important to remember this missional principle. In fact, I heard a great quote from Anne Lembeck's book, Dopamine Nation. And she says this: the smartphone is the modern day hypodermic needle, delivering digital dopamine 24/7 for a wired generation. What a powerful picture of our culture that is always on, where we feel like we have to be productive all the time, moving 24/7, where everything's at our fingertips and nothing feels impossible. The reality is, in this always on, fast-paced culture, sometimes we just have to take time to slow down, because mission doesn't always happen at a hustled, hurried pace. I mean, think about Jesus. He lived in a time where he walked everywhere with his disciples. He poured into a few and it impacted the world. You would oftentimes see Jesus breaking out of the frantic pace, breaking away from the crowd to go off in times of silence and solitude with his Father. And I think if we're going to be sharing the gospel and we're going to be helping people connect with Jesus, then we have to realize the way Jesus did it wasn't just Jesus' way. It was a model for how we should be living in mission. And I think a lot of us, myself included, need to slow down in order to really speed up in mission. So what does that look like? And why is it so important? Well, number one, I think it allows our souls to catch up with our bodies. I was at a spiritual direction retreat recently, and they used this phrase, and I thought it was so powerful. I think sometimes we're moving at such a frantic pace, we're not able to stop and listen to our spirit, to listen to the calm voice that is trying to whisper into our souls. And so oftentimes what happens is we just miss out and we keep moving and pushing harder and harder. But sometimes you have to slow down to actually let your soul catch up with your body. The second thing, it makes it easier to hear the voice of God. See, oftentimes when you're reading in scripture, the voice of God doesn't come from some wild burning bush. It comes from a still small voice, a whisper. That's why you see Jesus break away for times of prayer. You can think about Elijah sitting on the mountainside, and God wasn't in the whirlwind and he wasn't in the fire. He was in the still small whisper. See, I think sometimes we miss the voice of God because we're not slowing down long enough to just simply listen to it. And so I think that's an important reason we need to slow down. And then finally, I think it reminds us that mission moves at the speed of relationship. And relationships aren't instant. Relationships aren't a quick click on an Instagram where we're following somebody and watching their curated picture of life. Relationships, they develop over time. They're not instant or quick. Sometimes you'll have a quick connection with somebody, but that relationship still needs to be nurtured and developed over time. And mission happens through relationships. So if we're not slowing down at a pace to be able to develop real relationships with real people around us, then we're going to miss out on the missional potential that God has for us. And so I think it's so important, and I want to thank Dave for giving me that advice. Sometimes we have to slow down to speed up, and realize that's true for mission. If we can help you do that, whether these mission insights help you slow down and reflect on mission, or if there's anything we can do to help you slow down to speed up, then let us know. We'd love to connect with you. You can check us out at missionarypathway.org or by going to thekairosnetwork.com. And of course, if this was impactful for you, click like, subscribe, and share it out with somebody else that needs to learn the importance of slowing down to speed up.